I am blessed to have lived by water my whole life, whether a lake, a river, or an ocean. Water always seems to revive me, like putting my feet in the water in a hot and humid Minnesota summer day.
I grew up in South St. Paul, Minnesota, on the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River. My friends and I would explore the riverbanks daily. For us, the river was our playground, but it also gave us a sense of the power and even the danger of the river. One of my favorite memories was of watching the paddle wheel riverboats traveling to and from St. Paul.
We started with a group of 8 seed stories that were told by stakeholders who live in the Vadnais Lake area watershed. And those stories were printed onto cups that then were shared with about 50 people in 8 different tea conversations over the summer of 2021. And then each of those participants shared their own stories and memories about water.
So that's what I try to do, tell my kids, you just don't screw the faucet and drink water. You need to think somebody's always doing something. And any kind of water that I drink goes to Mississippi someday soon.
It was right here in the thick of it. At first it was gross, but soon we embraced it, swimming out on air mattresses and holding muck swimming competitions. It became a strong bonding experience between family, plus we knew the messy bay supported frogs and fireflies that we caught and released. Heart in print.
When I was a kid, my grandpa told me stories of growing up along the Mississippi River in Wisconsin. He used to fish and climb rocks. He talked about the rising and falling of the river and the winters when it would freeze over. His favorite place was called Granddad's Bluff. We would visit the river together when I spent time with him. Years later, when I moved to Minneapolis, I had the pleasure of crossing the river each day and remembering my grandfather. I came to realize, though, that while I knew the river like how I know about a celebrity, my grandfather knew the river like a friend. So Upstream grew out of my desire to deepen my relationship with the river and its watershed. Through the memories and the moments that people have shared with me over tea, I have come to befriend the water we know to be the watershed of the Mississippi River.
And one of the fascinating things is to see how many linked lakes there are that were once part of the drainage. That was the St. Croix drainage, that was the Minnesota River or the Mississippi River. We're here on part of the Rice Creek watershed. This is a series of lakes that jumps down, still slightly connected. And unless you look at it at a map, you're not really aware of, oh, this is really where the water flowed. I think our connection to water is hidden, and we choose to hide it. We send water on diversions. We want to tame it and control it. It's underground in urban areas. It's really intimately linked to transportation. And you'll find the freeways are following older U.S. highways, and the older U.S. highways are following other local routes, and those local routes were following trails, and those trails were following the water. You don't really have to dig too far to see, even if it's invisible to us now, we instinctively follow the water. That's, the water carves out a path for us. a Nibi walk with Sharon Day. It's really a ceremony. As part of the ceremony, women carry the water and they dip this pail full of water at the source of a river, and then they empty it out at the base. Cross a body of water. You or somebody that's walking with you shares tobacco with the water, and you bless the water. You say thank you. In Anishinaabe is miigwech, or because I'm interested in the Dakota, who are the ancestors that live on this land, I say pidamaya, and you look up the stream. And so after doing a couple of Nibi walks, I really got into, every time I cross the water in a car, on a freeway, going fast, I would look at the stream and tell it thank you. It changed how I thought about water. We don't need to wait for an expert. We don't need to wait for somebody to write a book about it or give us a brochure or a tour, but we can just look ourselves, and really there's so much to discover.
All these bullheads, but we didn't have any refrigeration in this little cabin. Oh, what are we going to do with all these wonderful bullheads? You can only eat so many and everything like that. So we'll try canning them.
Oh.
So we, put them in jars, the fillet part and everything, and put them, dunk them in a thing of hot water.
We would look for frogs, and eventually we started embracing this mucky lily pad area. So we would just swim right off the dock with our floating rafts and be muck warriors, and we would give each other family trophies about the fun we had and who's the best muck swimming champion. And we could paddle out to the middle, but we really learned a whole lot about embracing the messiness of water. So a lot of times the runoff is a hidden, elusive factor in the big picture of stormwater and of a watershed in general. This rain garden is in the sub-watershed for East Vadnais Lake. So that means water that falls here is gradually making its way to East Vadnais Lake. And of course, that's a drinking water reservoir. And that's a very visual, immediate signal for that's important, and it really is. There's a lot of people that depend on that. But in order to keep East Vadnais Lake really healthy and protected long term, these kinds of strategies really safeguard that. So everything going from here is captured and treated on site, and all those nutrients, sediment, other harmful things that come from automotive fuels, brake dust, they can be processed here in the soil opposed to going into a water body.
White Bear Lake and the surrounding watersheds is a really special part of the greater Mississippi River watershed. It is beloved and sacred to many people, and it provides sustenance to millions of humans and critters alike. This project is really special because all of the stories have been told and shared among people who live, work, and recreate in the Vadnais Lake area watershed. The way that the stories have circulated mimics the way that water lives in the people who share a community. We embody the water, sharing ourselves and our stories with the friends and even the strangers around us.